Hello and welcome to Truth and Transparency. It's a Monday night special. Rachael DelTondo going to give our live viewers a chance to get in chat. Again, welcome to Truth and Transparency. Your host, Lana, as always. And tonight's Monday special, Rachael DelTondo, 2018 unsolved homicide out of Alicoe, Pennsylvania. Good evening, live chatters. Hello, Bumblebee. Again, I will give a couple minutes for all those notifications to click in. Tonight's special, Rachael DelTondo, the unsolved homicide out of Alicoe, Pennsylvania. Rachael DelTondo. Those of you guys that might not be familiar with Rachael DelTondo's case, this is one of the earlier May 15th, 2018 clips. And then I'll be moving through the years leading up to present day 2022. Rachael DelTondo was gunned down on Mother's Day in the evening, approximately 10:44 p.m. to 10:45 p.m. And my message here tonight is to the mother of Rachael DelTondo, Lisa, and her father, Joe, who I think are fabulous people. It's hard to ever imagine what it's like to be them every single day. They still live in the same house. I know they thought the world of Rachael. And again, Rachel's murder is still unsolved to this day.
Former teacher in Aliquippa. Investigators believe the victim knew her attacker, and this was not a random act. Investigative reporter Andy Sheen is live in Aliquippa with more. Andy.
Susan, police investigators won't say if they have a suspect, but they do believe that Rachael DelTondo knew her assailant and that this brutal murder was a crime of passion. No arrest is imminent in the murder of Rachael DelTondo as police investigators methodically comb through the evidence.
We're working with every resource we have with the Pennsylvania State Police, the District Attorney's Office, the Detective Bureau, to investigate this case, to tie up every detail.
Canvassing the neighborhood, reviewing all surveillance tapes, and sending DelTondo's cell phone and others to a lab in Harrisburg to retrieve all texts and communications.
Investigating everyone that was driving around Aliquippa that night that was anywhere near this young lady's house.
Over the next few days, investigators will sift through the evidence to nail down a motive and a suspect. But they believe it will show that DelTondo knew her.
from what we know, no.
2 years ago, police came upon DelTondo in a parked car with a juvenile student. She was questioned but not charged. However, a year later, this report of the incident was leaked to the press and her employer, PA Cyber, and the Lincoln Park Performing Arts Charter School, which suspended her. Lozier says wrongfully so.
It's shameful that this woman was painted with a police report that had been written that did not result in criminal charges.
So was she?
It was a personal vendetta against her at the time.
Now, police continue to chase down these leads, and no arrest is imminent. They have days before that data is known, and police investigators are very interested in what it says. Reporting live in Aliquippa, Andy Sheehan, KDKA TV News.
All right, that was a clip from 2018. That was on May 15th, just a couple days after Rachael was gunned down. You hear it right there, them talking about that this was a crime of passion, a crime of passion. I'm here to tell you guys today, as I broke this news earlier, that this, I've never heard of a crime of passion being somebody that is shot in the back. The media wants you to believe that this was a crime of passion. And that media would be none other than the Beaver Countyan. And these early reports, which should have changed over the years, but that simply wouldn't sell. This is not about money. This is not about a 48-hour story. This should be about compassion. And this should be about finding who really killed Rachael DelTondo. 6 months prior to her being gunned down at the bottom of her parents' driveway after getting out of a vehicle that was being drove by Lauren Watkins, and another male was in the car, Tyree Jeter, a half-brother of Sheldon Jeter Jr. They go to Rachel's house at 10:44. She gets out. They allegedly drive away. And then within 60 seconds, she is shot, hailed with bullets in the back, and is found at the bottom of her parents' driveway. When Lauren was interviewed, Lauren said that she saw and watched Rachael walk up to the side door. So then how would Rachael get back down to the bottom of the driveway? That's a huge question mark. She also stated that she usually watches Rachael walk into the house. Because remember, 6 months prior to this day, that police report was leaked. That police report was obtained actually in May of 2017, not leaked until October 26th and 27th of 2017, right before election in November. Nobody wants to talk about that, though. People that were running for the board. People that were John Paul's sources. When that police report was leaked to the media, allegedly leaked to the media, it was a police report that hadn't been written up for over a year. and it was a car incident report that featured Rachael DelTondo and Sheldon Jeter Jr. in a vehicle almost a year and some change earlier in 2016 when Jeter was a senior in February, the weekend of the Super Bowl. Nothing happened. The cops let her go, and the other cop drove Sheldon home. Again, no police report was written up. You have to ask yourself why. Those are mandatory reporters, and the school should have been called because he was a minor. Now it has been alleged that it was a cover-up. At the time, Rachael DelTondo was engaged to Frank Atropa, businessman, well-known, well-connected in the community. He was at the Super Bowl that weekend. The following weekend, they broke off their engagement. She gave back the big-time ring. Now, again, that would have been in February of 2026. I'm sorry, in 2016. Sheldon Jeter Jr. goes and wins the state championship March of 2016. He graduates then. He then goes to Cal. And that's in that fall. So then a whole year would go by. In 2017, that police report was then written and printed out, and it just sat on the desk of Joe Percival. Then randomly, on October 26th of 2017, randomly, this report would surface to a couple different media outlets, one of them being the Beaver Countian, KDKA, her school, her friends. And it was an anonymous email. Now you have a big time computer guy, and you got the police, and nobody can find out where this email came from. There was one sent out on the 26th, and then another one sent out on the 27th. But attached with this incident report was Rachael and Sheldon's, all their personal information, Social Security, signatures, all that stuff. Very odd to be in an envelope with an incident report. Rachael then, at her teaching job, they decide that they're going to suspend with pay Rachael in November, the beginning of the month. And then all these news outlets start reporting on this. And the Beaver Countian does a big write-up in December. Mr. Scooper sits on it, waits 6 weeks, to then write a bunch of write-ups. After Rachel's death, we find out that Rachael DelTondo became, in December of 2017, when he wrote that article, a bunch of them, she became a Beaver County source, Beaver Countyan source, beginning December of 2017. Rachael DelTondo, that would be 6 months prior to her death, which happened May, on Mother's Day 2018. Rachael DelTondo told John Paul, the Beaver Countyan, that she was receiving death threats and that they said that she would not live to see the end of 2018. She never said she was scared of Sheldon Jeter Jr. She said that she was scared of the police. She was deathly afraid of the police, and that she was afraid of her fiance. Never once says that she's afraid of Sheldon Jeter Jr. Again, remember, she's got some years on Sheldon. He had just graduated high school, June 2016. Sorry, this video going now. Maple B, to answer your question, no, Sheldon's mom was not informed of the car incident, and he should have been. He was a minor. So again, Rachael DelTondo becomes a source for the Beaver Countyan, and a lot of things are going on, and a lot of write-ups happen between the time she becomes a source in December of 2017 until her death in May of 2018. Now, after my time of being in Aliquippa here for over a year, I've realized some things about Aliquippa, and I've realized some things about how the journalism and the professionalism and who knows what, and how people find stuff out with the police and yada yada yada. Aliquippa talks. And remember, if you don't want the beaver to write about you, you better. So, at the time of Rachel's death, she had said that she was in fear for her life. And then you got the police / law enforcement, basically, but mostly alcohol police. And then you got her fiance or ex thereof, but she never mentions that she was with Rachael Jeter Jr., who the Beaver Countyan goes hard after as their person of interest. Oh, is it bad? Hold on. Is it better now? Is that better? Again. All right, how's that sound? That should be better. Is that better sound? Okay, perfect. Sorry about that.
An alleged overdose on an Aliquippa street corner. Police and medics discovered 21-year-old Sheldon Jeter, who has been a person of interest in the DelTondo case. He was found unconscious.
And it happened just hours after CBS 48 Hours aired an investigation into DelTondo's death. KDKA's Megan Schiller talked with Aliquippa Police Chief about what unfolded.
Sheffield and Orchard. Passerby reporting a male lying on the ground, unresponsive with his eyes open. Said she touched his knee and he didn't move.
Early Sunday morning, just 6 hours after a 48 Hours investigation aired nationally, a key figure in the DelTondo case wound up unconscious.
Reporting the same thing, male lying in the street. Caller heard a female yelling and a blue pickup truck fled the scene, apparently.
Aliquippa's Police Chief Robert Seelock says this is being treated as a drug overdose and that medics revived Sheldon Jeter Jr. with Narcan at 4 o'clock Sunday morning. The chief said Jeter got up, walked away, and yelled obscenities at first responders. The chief said they're investigating the reports of a blue truck leaving the scene. And another report of a female screaming in the area. Just 6 hours before this incident, CBS aired that 48 Hours investigation exploring Jeter as a potential person of interest.
I think it's fair to say that he's a suspect, but there is a cast of characters that all could be considered suspects.
That's Jeter's attorney, Michael Santacola, and he tells KDKA his client has no recollection of any alleged overdose on Sunday morning. He says Jeter was out at a bar with friends that night. It was those friends who say he hopped in an unknown vehicle. He said Jeter didn't know about the incident on this corner until the following morning when detectives contacted him. Santacola said Jeter went to Sewickley Hospital for a drug test and it came back clean. And I had the chance to talk to Rachael DelTondo's mother and father this morning. They said that they're aware of this incident involving Sheldon Jeter, and ultimately all they want is justice and the truth to come out about their daughter, and they want this to go to trial. Reporting in Aliquippa, I'm Megan Schiller, KDK.
Rachael DelTondo first came to the attention of the Aliquippa police in February 2016, when police found her and a then 17-year-old boy parked on the grounds of the old Aliquippa hospital. That young man is Sheldon Jeter, now 20, a former Aliquippa basketball and football star who still lives in town. According to this police incident report, the car windows were steamed up and Jeter was reclined. But DelTondo told the officer she was counseling Jeter, whom she's described as a former student. She was not charged, and police drove Jeter home. Shortly afterwards, DelTondo was engaged to local businessman Frank Catropa, and in February 2017, she and her mother were interviewed by Marty Griffin for a story about a dispute over her custom wedding dress. But the couple broke up and didn't go through with the wedding. Then in November 2017, the police incident report was leaked to the media and DelTondo's employer, PA Cyber Charter School, an act District Attorney David Lozier called a personal vendetta.
As you all probably know, there was a family, some family members that were angry at her over some personal issues.
The District Attorney called this a personal vendetta. Was he referring to your client?
He was not. He was not.
Catropa and his attorney addressed the matter, saying the breakup with DelTondo had nothing to do with Jeter, and Catropa knows nothing about the murder.
we wanted to be very, very clear publicly that Frank Catropa has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with what happened.
When you're with somebody for 8 years, it's quite some time. And we just hope to see that they at least get justice to this. And, you know, it's a sad case.
But the leak also led to a state police investigation of the Aliquippa police. The leaked information came from the department's computers and the department's access to statewide.
Okay, right here. This is where it gets sloppy. This is where you have multiple things that were going on in Aliquippa. So prior to Rachel's death, Aliquippa police chief, assistant police chief at the time, Joe Percival, was working and gathering information on the corruption with city officials, with police officers padding their, hours. Joe said a lot of money. Evidence was missing from the evidence room. Money's missing. Drugs missing. Taxpayers' dollars just walking out, going into the pockets of city officials. And this was part of something that was going on, as well as people investigating or trying to investigate Frank Catropa, who again was Rachel's fiance turned ex-fiance. The Beaver County himself, Mr. John Paul, announces after Rachel's death on that 48 Hours episode that aired a year later, almost 1 year to her death, that Rachel was a source for him. He also said that Rachel had spoken to the grand jury. And he made a comment that if what Rachel was saying was true, that it could be very problematic for Frank Catropa. So you have all of this talk of police corruption, city officials being corrupt. You have the woman who's gunned down and murdered on Mother's Day talking to a reporter / a journalist, whatever he wants to call himself. She tells him she's in fear for her life. What does he do to protect his source, who then ends up murdered? Just like she said she was in fear. She said she was in fear of the police, her fiance. Never says Sheldon. 6 months later, from the time of speaking with him from the first time and becoming a source, 6 months goes by. And as that time is going by, he is writing articles after articles. And they are raiding city buildings. He is starting fires all over the place with this alleged corruption. And not only was Rachael DelTondo one of his sources, but Joe Percival, Matt Motz. And John Paul had a hard-on for Couch, who was the chief at the time of Rachel's death. And then during an investigation into the murder of Rachael DelTondo, right after her death, Matt Motz says he's going to go ahead and put Couch on suspended leave. Why? Well, my sources told me, who were the same sources as John Paul's, that it was John Paul that wanted Couch out. And Matt made that happen. During the time that would be so crucial to investigate Rachael DelTondo's homicide, my sources say that couldn't Mr. John Paul's personal vendetta wait and made sure that Rachel's case is handled with the proper and utmost care? Because not only do they then go through one police chief, then it goes to Joe Percival, who becomes chief, who then he is arrested within one day due to the contents that was in his phone, or I'm sorry, in Lauren Watkins's phone, due to an inappropriate text message. So then you're on to your third chief, all within 3 weeks of Rachael being gunned down. When Couch was put on paid leave, which was, again, right after Rachel's death, in that office, my sources say that there was guns found under cabinets. One of them serial numbers were being rubbed all the way off. Another gun wrapped with $4,000 around it. I can't recall seeing that in any articles. All I can recall being written about in Alcoa, Pennsylvania, from the Beaver County is honing in on this black young man who was not the last person to see Rachael DelTondo alive. In fact, it was Lauren Watkins and Tyree Jeter. But I don't see any articles written about anything to do with that story, those potential witnesses. And I'm going to have to agree with Mr. Santacola when he says Lauren Watkins' story doesn't add up of the night of the murder. If she sees Rachael walk up to the side of the house, how does Rachael get back down to the end of the driveway? Oh, they say that somebody was waiting there by the side door. So when she walked up, that she ran away or something like that. I mean, I guess allegedly. Well, where are the shell casings? Were those picked up? That doesn't sound like an amateur person would know to pick up all the shell casings, only to then 2 years later, when he allegedly murders Tyreek Pugh, he's going to leave all the shell casings. That's interesting. Also, they want you to believe that this is a crime of passion versus what if it got leaked out that Rachael DelTondo was talking to the Beaver County and that she's the one that's supposedly giving up all this information? What if that got out? You know she's not giving up information about Sheldon Jeter Jr. What does she have on Sheldon? Nothing on Sheldon. She wasn't going and talking to the Beaver County, a source, because of what she could tell them about Sheldon. There's nothing to tell about Sheldon. He's a boy. There's nothing to tell about him. He was no use to. That's not what John Paul was writing about. John Paul was writing about officials, about raids, about government officials. And now I personally get to see firsthand how Mr. Paul works. So after seeing how Mr. Paul works here, John Paul works, I have a pretty interesting concept of what I think went down. mixed with what my sources say close to the investigation. But why zero in on Sheldon? If he's all about, why not follow the evidence? Well, because it leads you away from Sheldon. But why would John Paul care who goes down for Rachel's death as long as it's the right person? There shouldn't be a narrative. There shouldn't be an agenda. This is a woman that was his source. This is a woman that, trusted him. Her mother trusted him to go and talk to him. And he went on 48 hours and said, yeah, she told me she was in fear for her life. Well, he's married to a police officer. So I can only imagine if my source came to me and said they were in fear for their life, I think I would help them. I think I would do something about that. Because she actually had every reason to be in fear for her life because she was murdered 6 months later. John Paul says he wants the story and he wants to give people, he goes to both sides. Well, I didn't see him going to any sides with any of these homicides. I just see a narrative. I see a money-making narrative. That's why they have to say it's crime of passion. Because that's what they only have to try to say as to why Sheldon would kill Rachel. Because it was a crime of passion. Well, who sprays somebody in the back if it was a crime of passion? That's not how you kill crime of passion. What reporter or what DA or what law enforcement person would ever say that somebody that got shot in the back would be a crime of passion? When's the last time you read anything like that? Now let's remember how this goes down. Sheldon wasn't with Rachel that night. Now, allegedly, he was supposed to, what they say, meet up and have ice cream, right? Sheldon wasn't texting Rachel that night. He was texting his half-brother. And he said, oh, I got left. And he responded, oh, what time is Hank's closed? Oh, Hank's is closed, blah, blah, blah. That type of talk. So you think that Sheldon, because he got left to not go grab some ice cream on Mother's Day night at 9 p.m., was like, let me just go get a gun, because I don't own one at the time. Let me just go find this gun, go get a gun, and go stake it out at Rachel's, and when she gets back, I'm just going to shoot her. Versus all the bullshit that's been going on with this corruption, with her being a source, with her being scared of the police, with her being scared of her fiance. They literally want us to believe that Sheldon killed Rachel because it was crime of passion. But mind you, no arrests for it. And she was dead within 1 minute or possibly less than 1 minute of being dropped off at her house. where Lauren says that she walked up to the side door, but I usually watch her walk in, but I didn't watch her walk in that night. But I didn't see any other cars around. But I normally watch her, walk in because, she's so scared. She's really jumpy because of everything that's going on. The police, people are following her. Okay. She never went to the police ever once about Sheldon. So here we are, 2022. And a guy that boasts about writing over 100 articles, charging $10 a month on his website, his blogger. He's written over 100 articles to do with Rachael and Sheldon. Well, how many articles do you think there are about Lauren? How many articles do you think there are about Tyree? Oh, 0. Well, that seems like a one-sided investigation. Or, but that's kind of par for the course. So again, Sheldon doesn't own a gun at the time. No gun was found. No shell casings were found. He's not with her, not the last person to see her. She was out to get ice cream with other people. And now this is the weird part. Lauren says that, yeah, we dropped Rachael off, but I was planning on coming back there that night, and I just told her to go for a walk. I texted her while she was in the car with me to just go for a walk. Go for a walk. And because we didn't really want Ty to know that, we were still going to hang out that night. Well, then I have a question then. This is where my logic goes. Why don't you just drop Ty off first? You can still act like you're going home and everybody's going home. But wouldn't you take, if you're just planning on, well, I dropped Rachael off, and then I went and dropped Ty off. But we didn't want Ty to know that we were hanging out. So that's why I said go for a walk or whatever, and because I was going back to Rachel's. Well, if you were going back to Rachel's to hang out and just kick it girl style, then just take Tyree home first. Right? You drop him off first, right? And then you go back to her house and kick it. I don't know the last time I would ever, if I'm in a car with 3 people and I plan on hanging out with, let's say I got Mary and Joe in the car and I plan on hanging out with Mary, why would I take Mary home? Okay, now I'm going to go take Joe home after I take Mary home, only to go back to Mary's to hang out with her. And she's 17 at the time. There was some sketch stuff about Lauren reporting some messages where a video was sent. Well, Comic Wave, you just go ahead and email that. You tell me where there's any logic in that. Now, I've done a lot of reenactments in Aliquippa because I'm there a lot. And between where Lauren, lived and Rachael lived and where Ty lived or where she took him on Main Street. Those are all relatively close points. But I mean, there's only one way that is if Rachel didn't want to go wherever Ty lived to be in that area, or if maybe you really weren't coming back. I mean, but who would ever take somebody home and then, okay, I'm going to take Ty home? And then who would ever tell somebody to go for a walk? And the same night that they tell that person to go for a walk, that she is literally shot right, after. And this is the other thing is, how do we know for sure that she was shot after those text messages? What if she was shot before that text message was sent? Could that have been a staged text message? Is that a possibility? Can we rule it out? Do they do any type of investigation on anything? Well, I can actually answer a little bit of this. So they really don't give enough of a reference about this, but after being there, and I think it's something that 48 Hours really didn't do a good job, with. But when Rachel and Frank, broke up, it was like so small, 9,000 people. Everybody knows everybody, but it's like one of those things where we all know how it is in a breakup. Like they're about to get married, they've been together for a long time, 8 years. You're gonna have to pick sides. And so when they broke up, it was very, are you gonna pick Frank's side? Are you gonna pick Rachel's side? And I know they shared a lot of mutual friends, and those mutual friends, went one way and it wasn't Rachel's way. So she lost a lot of friends with that. So Tyree was 26 at the time, so he was not, a little kid. And again, something that I've noticed being, around and in Aliquippa is it's more of like a neighborhood. So like, you know people because like the families have generations and generations. And again, Lauren was, how they met was from a mutual friend through a little kid that Rachel would help out with one of her friends. That's how she actually met Lauren. It was not like they're related. Like that's been stated before. They are not related by any means. So Joe Percival running around saying that's, yeah, Rachel and Lauren were cousins. That's a flat out lie. And I don't know if Joe means to be lying. I don't know where he gets that information from. He told me he got that information from Kenny, which would be Lauren's dad, which is, wow, if that is fact true, but no relation there whatsoever. So again, when at the time of Rachel's death, Sheldon wasn't in high school anymore. Also, at the time of Rachel's death, Lauren was actually in college her first year. She didn't go to Aliquippa. She went to a private school. Yeah, so that's how Rachel and Lauren knew each other, was a mutual friend that had a little boy or a little girl. I can't remember if it was but it was due to like babysitting, and it was a good friend of hers, and Rachel was around that child a lot, and so was the whole DelTondo family. So again, you get just half truths over there at 48 hours because, I mean, they're just doing a story. It's about money. For me, this is about truth, about compassion. You got a bunch of moms, Sheldon's got a mom, Rachel's got a mom. This was on Mother's Day. Frank, Tyree's got a mom. Everybody has moms. And this was a murder on Mother's Day. And, then you have to ask yourself, was there a message behind, her death being on Mother's Day? But I think there's a lot of question marks that surround the minutes leading up to and the events once Rachel got out of the car. And I don't understand how come an investigative journalist doesn't see those just red flags, just, where's the exclusive with Lauren Watkins? Where's the, oopsies. All right, sorry guys. My internet on the road here is not as good as my office, so no, my investigation has Mr. Jeter innocent on all counts. Sheldon Jeter is in his appeal phase right now. But yeah. But this episode that I want to do a special, and I was actually going to do it on Mother's Day, but I didn't want to. I believe that the families should, be able to have as much peace as possible on a day that brought so much sadness. And it's not supposed to be sadness on Mother's Day. It's supposed to be, celebration and love and talking about memories growing up. And I just know that that's something that, Lisa doesn't get to do now. And same thing with Joe and Father's Day. And But I believe that everybody that is involved with this case, Mother's Day's in Aliquippa, this is what gets brought up. And it needs to be about finding the truth for Rachael and finding the truth so that innocent people can come out of a shadow of doubt. The media, before Sheldon ever went to court, painted Sheldon as a murderer. The media did that. And people can say whatever they want about me. I went to Aliquippa to help families there because there's a bunch of families in Aliquippa that are hurting. There's a bunch of corruption. And it's unfortunate that the person that's been the media has not been reporting it fairly. And in fact, sometimes doesn't report at all or has a narrative and it's all about money. Oh, wait for my stuff with the Pew case, because Sheldon's gonna win on that appeal. So again, today, message that everybody needs to take from this is that it needs to be about compassion. It needs to be about truth and honesty, and not about a narrative. It's never too late to realize that you made a mistake. This is people's lives. This is real life. Sheldon Jeter Jr., he wanted to be a deacon. His time was spent working. His time was spent with the church. It was during COVID when Pew was murdered in 2018, when Rachael was murdered. He's just a kid. I believe that there's a couple people that know exactly what happened to Rachael DelTondo. And I'm hoping that those people do the right thing. Again, if you want to email me anonymously, It's truth and transparency all together with the number 3 at Gmail. I want to thank you guys for joining in on this episode. Again, truth, transparency at Gmail. I actually do care. I actually will listen. And I will try to help. I think I've been doing that. I think I've been keeping my word in Aliquippa. Aliquippa is like a second home. Again, you guys all have a good night.